we're a social animal in a way that, primatologists often claim that primates are social animals. But in terms of what we mean, which is the ability to cooperate, to work together, to come up with plans by which you could put a man on the moon, or you can make a cell phone, or they're not cooperative animals. They're animals that mostly fight with each other and are very self-centered. So they're really, again, they're really different than us. So this model doesn't work very well. It's interesting you're talking about war. One of the really interesting questions about war, and as you know, the book talks a fair amount about the causes of war and how to deal with war and why humans engage in war. But one of the interesting questions about war is, why do so many soldiers, after they come back from combat, commit suicide? And there's a lot of research that one of the problems is that as horrifying as war may be, to engage in it, there is an enormous feeling of camaraderie that soldiers experience. And when they come back, they've lost this, and they're often very depressed because they've lost this feeling of camaraderie, and they really have no sense of, who am I if I'm not part of the unit, the company, and if I'm not doing something that I think is important and worthwhile, and I'm not engaged in self-sacrifice. Well, this is just totally different than the outlook of a primate, but it's very serious. Another of the points the book makes is that the primatologists tried to sell people on the idea that wars take place because we're primates, and primates are naturally aggressive and violent. But the interesting thing is that all the animals that we use in war, horses, camels, dogs, pigeons, dolphins, sea lions, you can go on and on, elephants, they're all domesticated animals, as in fact we are. And it turns out that the most warlike of all animals, the animal that is most inclined to war and engages in the most brutal wars, is the ant, which is a super obedient animal. So it seems that actually war is a problem not primarily of primate aggression, it's a problem of obedience. And one of the points I make in the book, which is unbelievably important, and people seem to have missed this, despite the fact it's an issue of the last 100 years, is that we don't have a single case of two democratic societies in which women vote. It's never happened, going to war with one another. Wars seem to be a phenomenon by which autocratic leaders, dictators, psychopaths of various kinds, they find young men and they use propaganda to get them to go off and start wars. But if you look at like France and Germany, they've had so many wars over the centuries. They don't even have troops on the border anymore. We don't have any troops on the border with Canada, notwithstanding the conflict between President Trump and Mark Carney or Pierre Trudeau. Nobody actually thinks a war is going to break out. In spite of the cartels in Mexico, nobody thinks a war is going to break out between the United States and Mexico today. It's not going to happen, and nobody thinks it's going to happen. It turns out that women tend to, for various reasons, and the book talks about some of the neuroscience findings, they tend to be somewhat more empathetic than men. And it turns out that when you give women a certain level of political power, the impetus towards war really, really fades away. And that was even true to a significant extent when we went to manhood suffrage, when we went to a system where every man could vote. But when we gave women the vote, it changed our political system in a lot of ways. Probably led to an expansion of government that not everybody's in. There's taxes, which not everybody's enthusiastic about. But it also led to basically an end to war between the countries that have democracies in which women vote. And we really have to understand that, because a lot of people in our society want to blame us for the fact that we're in conflict with countries like China and Iran and Russia. We're in conflict with these countries because they're run by psychopaths who are interested in fomenting conflict. And it's not a function of our government.
If you like this video, check out the full interview. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching.